In lieu of a stream today, I present to you this game. Hello, I am Xarkun, and this is World of Warships Legends. Today I've got something for you on Two Brothers. Capture the Base mode. We are in the Tier 6 Premium Soviet Destroyer Leningrad, and this was actually a game that I played on my last stream. Now, before we get started, the reason you're seeing this video and not a stream today is because today, Friday, I happen to have to work 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then Saturday I've got to work 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so there's really not enough time for me to get in a good stream today, unfortunately. It's possible I will do one Saturday, more toward the evening time, since I do get off so early on Saturday. It's also possible that I won't do a stream at all this weekend, but I will be doing a stream on Monday, July 26th, when the new update drops. So, apologies for not streaming today. Hopefully, this highlight from my previous stream will tide you over. Now, the reason I took this ship out was because somebody asked me on stream to take out the Leningrad with the Trubetskoy build, featuring the playing with fire skill that increases the fire chance. And I don't think we're going to get a lot of fires or a lot of shots to sort of showcase that skill working out super well for us on this particular game. But it is going to be a pretty good game, and it's going to exemplify the need to protect the base in order to win and capture the base modes. Two Brothers is probably the simplest map in the game. You've got that center channel going down, the center, and ships can go down there to try to get into the enemy base, but it's pretty much never a good idea at the start of a battle. It just sort of means that you're going to get through the channel, get into the base, and then all the enemy ships are going to be on either of the flanks. They're going to be able to turn and shoot at you inside of their own capture circle and stop you. Basically, going up the center in the beginning of the game is almost always a guaranteed suicidal maneuver. Not all the time, but most of the time. So, most of the time, what you should be doing is playing either one of the flanks like this. And ideally, if you have two destroyers on your team, one destroyer will take one flank and the other will take the other flank. If you're divisioned in two destroyers on Two Brothers, then you both should avoid going on the same flank. If one destroyer only goes down one flank and another destroyer goes down the same flank, then the flank which is absent of destroyers is at a huge disadvantage in terms of spotting and the ability to counter any enemy destroyers that may be on that flank. So never, under any circumstances, especially if you are in a division, should you put both of your destroyers on the same flank in this map. Luckily, I'm not divisioned with the destroyer on the other flank. We both went on opposite sides of the map. Unfortunately, it didn't work out too well for our destroyer teammate over on the other flank. He is dead, but we did take out one of the enemy destroyers in the beginning there for the first blood medal, so there are only two destroyers left in this game, one on each team, and things are pretty evenly matched. But note that we are pushing this flank rather aggressively. Our team has not followed suit. They're still sort of lagging behind, but we've got an advantage here. As far as we can tell, there's no destroyer. There's only a King George and a Georgia. And we're doing a little bit of open water gunboating, using that playing with fire skill on Trubetskoy to try to light some fires, and we have lit one so far. It was on the King George, so we've changed our focus over to the Georgia, who manages to miss us with that salvo as we accelerate or decelerate juke out of the way. Unfortunately, that leaves us vulnerable to the King George, who smacks us pretty hard there with the HE. Not ideal. That's something we'd like to avoid happening again. But we do notice the King George did put out the fire we lit on him, so we promptly light another. And I don't think he's going to be able to put that out. That fire is going to tick. Now, unfortunately, the Georgia doesn't miss this time, and this time he does hit us with the HE, but we hit him right back and start another fire. So you can get a little bit of an indication that the playing with fire skill on Trubetskoy, even for something like the Leningrad, does increase the amount of fires you will light. And if your goal is to do fire damage with destroyers, then there is no better line than the Russian destroyer line with Trubetskoy's playing with fire skill influencing the ship build. You can certainly get a lot of fires that way, and you can certainly rack up a lot of damage that way. Although, keep in mind, that skill does reduce the alpha strike of the destroyer's high explosive shells by a not insignificant amount. So, I find it's best to use that skill only on destroyers with more guns. I'd say the Tashkent, since it has 6 guns, or the Khabarovsk, since it has 8 guns, because even though you're reducing the alpha strike, you still have a larger volume of fire than something like the Leningrad or the Minsk, both of which only have 5 guns. Instead, I'd recommend using the mortar skill on these destroyers without the playing with fire skill. Maybe twist and track instead. After all, their turrets are extremely slow, and I think twist and track is going to benefit you immensely in these destroyers. But that's not the build that was asked of us, so that's not what we're using. In any case, this flank is basically entirely clear. The Georgia is the only one left alive, and as you can see, he's been forced to retreat in an attempt to disengage, because not only am I here, but at least 2 friendly battleships and a cruiser are here as well. Another friendly battleship inside of our base. Actually, never mind. It looks like he's pointed the opposite way, so forget I even brought that up. There is a blue battleship in the center of the map, though, inside of that channel, trying to push up into the enemy base. It's a Colorado, though, and as you can see, he's got his bow pointed at an Iowa. One thing you need to realize in Tier 6 battleships, Colorado, any of them, is that their bow armor is only, I think, 26 millimeters, which means it can be overmatched by 15 and 16-inch guns. So there is no such thing as bow-tanking Tier 7 battleships with 16-inch guns in a Tier 6 battleship. Instead, you have to angle. This Colorado has discovered that the hard way. As you can see, he's dead now. But the enemy team has a number of ships inside of their base, which is going to prevent us from entering it and trying to contest it, and that is ultimately our goal. Even if we're not able to capture the enemy base, at least entering it stops the enemy from gaining any points whatsoever, unless they receive a lump sum of points from sinking some of our teammates. And you might think to yourself, well, Xarkun, this game is going pretty well so far. It does look like you guys are going to come out on top, right? Well, not really, because all this time while I've been traveling up here to the enemy base and coming down this flank, the enemy destroyer on the opposite side of the map has basically done the same thing. And as you can see, the flank over there is completely collapsed. All the blue ships are gone. So that enemy destroyer has a clear path to our base, and he's just entered it. Not good. As you can see, that battleship that was hanging around in our base earlier has now elected to come down the channel as well, following in the footsteps of the deceased Colorado. But this is bad, because our base is turning red. Now, I realize that this battleship is a Vanguard, and as a battleship, he's not really well suited to tangle with a stealthy destroyer inside of our cap circle. But good chance that nobody on our team is going to be able to make it back to the base. So really, I think what that Vanguard should be doing, if he wants to give our team a chance at winning this match, is get into the base, reverse into it, start contesting it so that the destroyer is not able to completely flip the cap. Unfortunately, he has elected to completely abandon the base. Now, if you notice this kind of thing on any Capture the Base mode game, or in Two Brothers in particular, there is nothing at all more important than going back and defending the base. It does not matter if this Vanguard comes out here right now and dev strikes this Bismarck, which, of course, is unlikely, extreme example. This Vanguard can come out here, dev strike that Bismarck, turn around, and kill the Georgia, and it doesn't matter, because that destroyer is in our base, and if he succeeds in flipping it, he wins. So protecting the base is, as always, in Capture the Base mode, really your primary objective. Now, this Vanguard has elected not to try to protect the base at all. That's fine, though, because I am a very fast destroyer. And the Cleveland with me, who I actually think is going to finish this game on the top of the leaderboard, recognizes what's good as well. So both of us are making a beeline for the base. And between the two of us, we are almost certainly going to be able to take out whatever this destroyer is. And I think luckily enough, we're going to be able to reach the base in time to do it. This Cleveland, by the way, is wearing the Super Tester camo, I think, that blue one, which is honestly spectacular looking. I kind of wish I had it. I almost like it better than the CC camo, but I'm glad he was in this game. The two of us are going to be able to demolish this Akatsuki, eliminate the threat to our base, and then at that time we can turn around and focus on the remaining ships, also get inside of the enemy cap circle and contest it. Looks like we have a battleship doing that for us, though. But together, the Cleveland and I are able to eliminate the threat from our base, and now we can turn around and deal with these enemy ships who have taken out both the friendly battleships remaining, which is unfortunate. So now it is a cruiser and 2 battleships versus me in the Leningrad and the Cleveland. So initially it looked like things were kind of going well for our team. Now the situation is completely flipped around and reversed. Now we are the ones who have to fight to climb back. But part of the way that we can climb back is simply by getting on the enemy base. Now when that Akatsuki was on our base, we stopped gaining points. If we get on the enemy base, you can see that they're at 431, and it's going to tick up to 433 now. Well, once we get on the enemy base, those points stop ticking. This is a way that you can win the game and make the point situation a little bit better for your team. If you can get on the enemy cap and stop them from gaining points, meanwhile your cap is clear, which it is now, then you are going to continue to gain points and the enemy team is not, which means you might be able to overtake them in the lead on points. You can see they're only a little bit over 100 points ahead of us. So as long as I stay on this base, they're not going to be getting points at all. Now, unfortunately, my concealment is pretty bad with this build, 7.1 kilometers by sea, so I don't have a lot of leeway should one of these guys decide to enter the base, and it looks like the Georgia is, but we've sent torpedoes his way. Also, the Cleveland has taken up a defensive position inside of that channel there, covered by islands. He's relying on our spotting to shoot at these guys, and we're working together as a team in that way. Me just being out here inside of the base is stopping the enemy from accruing points and also providing spotting for the Cleveland, who can do damage to these guys thanks to my spotting them. So, even though we aren't in a division, we are working together in order to try to salvage this game. And as you can see, just by being on the base for a little while, we've brought the point situation close to 100. Unfortunately, though, we're going to have to clear out. We're not going to be able to sit on this base any longer and stop the enemy from gaining points because we're simply too close to this Bismarck right now. Sea detectability range 7.1, and we're really, really cutting it close. The torpedoes are almost ready to reload, though. So we want to evaluate what target do we want to shoot them at. Not the Bismarck. Looks like he's going to turn around and try to get behind that island. But this Georgia is making a beeline for the center. He understands that the Cleveland is inside the channel there, and he doesn't have to worry about torpedoes from the Cleveland per se. There's nothing to stop the Georgia from rushing that Cleveland except me, which is why I send my torpedoes out the Georgia's way. Bismarck comes around the corner and spots me. Unfortunate, but his guns were not aimed at me, so he doesn't actually get to take a shot. Only his secondaries get to take a shot. Now, unfortunately, I am forced to smoke up in order to disengage. I don't want to be taking any chances. I don't want that Bismarck to kill me. And that temporarily causes me to lose spot of these ships for my Cleveland teammate. But the torpedoes on the Georgia, right on the money. And this is the shot that wins us the game, putting us ahead on points with only 44 seconds left to go. Now all that has to be done is I need to survive until the end, and we win. So there is a case of 2 random players engaging in some cooperative teamwork to win the game. That Cleveland and I together as a unit both carried this game. He's going to end up top of the leaderboard, and I'm going to end up just a little bit below him. Note also that I don't have a lot of damage done, only 72,000. And I do have 3 kills, but most of those were just kill secures. Nevertheless, I'm going to get over 2,000 XP and be second on the leaderboard behind the Cleveland, who is also going to get over 2,000 XP. That place on the leaderboard and that amount of XP is a much better indicator of how well I performed in this game than the raw amount of damage I did. The raw amount of damage is, in the grand scheme of things, not as relevant as protecting the base, taking out that Georgia when it counted, and all that other stuff. So those of you who are hung up on damage with destroyers, here's yet another example to show you that mediocre damage games can still be excellent games indeed. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.